Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am happy to announce the return of Something to Drink On. Now, today, I have something a little bit different, trying something new. I actually had this recorded back in January. Been a long time. Actually, maybe even before January. A friend of mine, Malachi Carter, also known as A+Scribe, and we'll get into some more stuff later, but one of the things that I'd been thinking about recently is how much I needed to get back to this, how much I needed to get back to enjoying something that is creative and fulfilling. And I'll be honest, I got a whole lot more to come, and I'm very excited about what's going on. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. If so, definitely let me know, comment, like, however this gets posted. I'm going to be working on trying to get my podcast put on Spotify instead of just on YouTube. So, they're a little bit more accessible. Um, but let me know what you want, what you think. Definitely want some feedback so I can get this to a better standard and to something that hopefully more people can enjoy. So thank you so much, and enjoy Myanmar Tea.
That's right, you learned something tonight. I'm an English teacher.
You're the English teacher and the street preacher.
I want to say a street preacher, like youth minister, because I feel like I can get better at doing like street ministry, because like our church does that.
Really?
Yeah, they do what are called faith walks.
Yeah.
So they'll just go out in our immediate community. They just go and just talk with people, like ask them like about things that they need, and just dialogue with them. Really, just build community. Because like we can't just have a bunch of people at our church who come from all over the city, but not anybody who's down the street. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because you want to be able to mix it up.
Right. Not only that, but it's like we want to actually serve this community. That's why we're here.
Right.
So like it's more than just trying to convert people to Jesus. Now I mean, like if that happens, cool, great, but not everybody's on that. So while we're here, like let's have a great conversation. Let's learn from each other. Maybe they don't have people that often they get to just talk to and they actually listen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So it's funny you say that because that's actually the reason I do this whole podcast. I like being able to sit down, have a conversation, and I'm trying to get a diversity of people because I'm hoping if somebody's listening, they're taking something away from me. So I don't want to say it's my form of ministry because I think that's giving it too much credit, but it's definitely my outlet, like my creative. What kind of fills me up because it's something I enjoy doing, and it's also something that I hope can be beneficial to somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, something I was learning is that like ministry goes beyond just that one thing you do.
Yeah.
But it is a demonstration of like what your ministry is. So like
yeah, absolutely. Or what you believe at least.
Right.
Yeah,
so like
because I don't yeah. We'll get into that one. we'll get into that little tit for tat.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Something to Drink On. I have my guest here. His name is A+Scribe.
Hey.
I'm your host, No Crook, as usual. And today we have some very unique tea. Another friend of mine let me have some tea from Myanmar. It's very herbal. It's very Uncle Iroh-esque. And we are going to enjoy this.
I love how that's an adjective now.
Hey, it works. You can turn anything into an adjective if you try hard enough.
Ooh. John accepted.
I mean, there's a show called Black-ish. So
right.
Black-ish. Taking an adjective and making it a different type of adjective.
Right. It's like I don't know, a fancy adjective. You know what I'm saying? Like you stuck your pinky out on it. It's blackish.
Blackish.
I love that show.
I've actually not watched much of that. I did see.
Bro, stop your life right now. Go watch an episode.
Hey, I could have told you that with how many anime right now. We about to fight.
How about this little trade? I'll watch anime more consistently, and then you watch it. Right.
It's on Hulu, right?
I believe so, because it comes on ABC.
Yeah, I'll watch it on Hulu because
get on the Disney Plus now, you know.
Dude, no, that's the thing. They don't have ABC.
What?
Yeah, they don't.
But Disney owns them.
I know. Well, Disney owns
everybody.
A lot.
The whole thing. Like they a cross between a monopoly, a dictatorship, and like I don't know, like some gangster lords. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there's always the conspiracy theory of the Illuminati and all that, but you know, that's
what conspiracy?
Right.
That's a conspiracy?
Nah, that's just real at this point.
Right.
We see how the world looks. We know what's going on.
Right.
But one of the reasons I wanted to have my friend on today is because he definitely brings a different perspective. Actually, one of the ways we met was through college. Again, another college friend in gospel choir, actually. This man not only has a beautiful voice, he also has a beautiful mind. This lyricist.
I'm a blender. Like I blend.
Hey, that's what you do with your music too. So that's what's important, right? You blend.
Right. I don't sing with somebody. I sing behind somebody.
Okay, I thought you always had a beautiful voice.
Oh man, I appreciate that.
So what's going on? What's new with you?
Man, everything. Like I'm trying to think about the last time I saw you.
Homecoming about a year or two ago.
That's right.
Yep.
What have I been doing since then? I mean, like I'm still teaching. I teach at a high school for adults, just in case you forgot.
I didn't know it's for adults.
Okay. So yeah, like anywhere.
Is it kind of like the Excel Center?
As a matter of fact, it is the Excel
Center. Okay, cool. No. So it's Go ahead. But I got something to add to that.
Yeah, so like we have multiple locations. So the one I work at is like nearing the east side of Indy, and it's beautiful because like I grew up in the area. So like this is like 38th Street. 38th Street goes east to west.
Right.
So like we're on the east end. And so I'm doing that. Man, get ready. This is a whole list.
Okay. All right. There's one.
So there's that. I'm finishing up my MFA at Butler University. Yeah, Masters of Fine Arts. Okay. Yeah. So
I didn't know there was a Master of Fine Arts. I literally didn't know.
Yep. In parts.
In parts. So what's like
Master
your focus?
Parts.
What's your focus?
Creative writing poetry.
That fits way too well.
Oh, right. Well, then there's that too. I also like do poetry. Like I'm still doing that.
Yeah.
I love how people be asking me. They be like, "Hey, do you still?" What?
No, I stopped.
Like right. It's like, dang, did you really think I was that terrible that I wouldn't just, try to further hone in on this craft?
See, it's funny you say that because like I'm so buddies with Alex. So like, anytime somebody's like, "Oh, are you still working?" He's like, "Nah, I gave up on my dream. I deleted my SoundCloud." Like
the whole thing.
Obviously, he's still like he works every day. He does something different. He's always making beats.
Right. Or it's like, hey, if you actually pay attention when I post things,
right? Maybe
you would still know. Maybe if you would listen to my stuff every now and then.
Well, you got a little bit too political for me, so I had to mute you on Facebook.
Man, truly, like,
has that actually happened to you?
Once.
Oh.
Like so, okay. So it was a student who also went to AU and graduated the same year I did.
Yeah.
And so like, long story short, this dude was like just starting an argument. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of like positioning himself to like try to listen and learn from someone who was different than him.
Right.
It's like for the rest of us, like we're so used to hearing this one opinion, this one way of thinking, because it's the same way of thinking that's been telling us what to do with our lives since that way of thinking brought us here. So like, so here's the thing. So like, I'll just keep it funky with you. White people, especially white guys, they hate it when I ask them questions.
What do you mean?
So like, I'll ask a question, and I'm the type of person where like, well, I'm a teacher. I expect for my question to be answered.
Right.
And so, like, I was asking him this question, and like, he wouldn't respond to the question. But like, in my experience, I found that some people prefer not to answer your question, but instead return to you with all these, with a laundry list of questions.
Right.
And it's like, hold on. First of all, you haven't answered my question, but you expect for me to answer all 50 of these questions right now.
Right.
You can't even answer this one. So like, I was like, okay. Some people will describe me as militant, I guess. Like, I don't really see myself like that.
I think there was a point where you got kind of close.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
But at the same time, it's like, if I'm militant in that area, I'm also very militant when it comes to respect. I'm also very militant when it comes to the fruits of the spirit and showing people love and kindness. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because, like, I mean, it depends on which translation of the Bible you read. Those are also known as spiritual disciplines.
Oh, yeah.
And not just fruits of the spirit. So, yeah, like, I will. So like, I told this guy because like at that point it's like we're not going anywhere with this.
Mm-hmm.
We're not listening to each other.
So picking back up where we left off,
right, let's just jump in and be like, hey, it's future us.
Future us, because my computer decided it wanted to do a software update.
We quick saved.
We quick saved. It auto saved our gameplay, and luckily we have something here still. But you were saying, as far as like Facebook arguments, like people being disrespectful, as far as like trying to have that dialogue. And I know you've always been the type of person who has desired that or sought after that with any of the things that you post or the things that you talk about. Although I have often seen you post things like, all my white friends, hold on, before you say, give me some insight on why you do that.
Oh, you're talking about like when I'll have a post and I just say, okay, I just want to hear from black people right now. I don't want to hear from any white people.
So give me your thoughts behind that, because I'm curious where
so
how that connects.
Yeah, think about it like this. Like if you look at the census, the black population takes up about 13 to 16% of America's population.
Right.
Like all major and consistent and historical valued and documented, or not documented, but like appraised thoughts have come from white people in this country. When you think about it.
Right. No.
And so like there are some nuances of like different cultures that are specific to their cultures. And I think it's important in those moments for like, if I'm outside of that culture, I'm going to position myself to listen. So like, for instance, like, and really I adopted this from a friend of mine who made a post. Like he's a guy, but he has a specific question to women. He was like, hey, I don't really want to hear from any of the guys on this. I just want to hear from the women. Because like, this is something that pertains specifically to you.
Right.
So your thoughts right now are more credible. Not to say that other thoughts are not valuable, but right now the ones that have the most credibility and that should be in the forefront right now, it should be the most consistent, and if anything, the leading thoughts should be that of women. So I adopted that same model. Now, I remember one of the first times I did this, I was like, okay, disclaimer. If you're white, this is just one of those things where you just want to listen. Maybe like after like 10 comments or something like that, because that's what my friend did. Then you just itching to say something, like you just can't help it. You look like a crack fiend out here on your keyboard, like I got a comment. But I adopted the same model. I can't remember what I was saying, but like I remember one of the first times I did it. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. One of my white friends, he was like, "So my opinion doesn't matter now?" And I was like, "No, that's not what I'm saying. If you read this thing, instead of like just jumping towards your anger or whatever frustration that you think you have with this, it literally says on there, I wish I could pull up the words now, but it's like, don't comment until like a couple other people comment, you know what I'm saying? Or there are some times where it's like, yeah, I don't want to hear from any white people on this. Why? I've been hearing from white people all my life. And in that space, because I have a lot of friends who are white, at the same time I have a lot of friends who are black.
Yeah.
And if I make a post about something that's geared towards social justice, a lot of times I hear from just white people. Ain't nothing wrong with it until something's wrong with it. It's like, wait, hold on. There are more people out here. So like, let's hear from those people first. And then that post really is for like anybody who's watching, anyone who's black who hasn't had this conversation, who hasn't been able to articulate these ideas.
Yeah.
And then if white people just so happen to be watching and looking, hey, this is your opportunity to learn something without having to lead the conversation, without having to facilitate the conversation.
Right.
Or some stuff really just ain't your conversation.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, you ever watch Godfather?
Yeah.
I've never watched it a day in my life, but my father loves it.
So
there's this concept that he brings in with that, like, some things are like just family issues. Like, you don't bring outsiders into the family issues, you know what I'm saying? So like, I just kind of adopt that model. I can see like how people like would be turned off by that, but sometimes like you have to set the tone for the conversation. Like this is what I get from being an educator and being a leader and a facilitator of conversations. Like you have to set the tone, otherwise you have to set the standards and the expectations. Otherwise, people are going to run amok. You know what I'm saying? So That's what I do.
No, and I get that. And I mean, you being a teacher, that brings a whole other piece to that because, like you said, you have to learn as a teacher how to set up those conversations.
Right.
And if that's you just living that out, I mean, hey, that's the best any of us can do is just try to live out what we've already learned to help create a better environment.
Right, because like otherwise you're going to have that one student who's dominating the entire conversation, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to gauge like who's actually learning in this classroom if you have all the answers and responses to these questions? If you're the only one who's asking questions, meanwhile, someone who's like really trying to formulate a sentence or a response or something to say, they haven't been given the opportunity because, and even if they try and someone like jumps right in, it's like, dang, we really just lost somebody. Yeah. So I try to think about like who are the voices who have not been heard and who have not been listened to and who have not been heard and listened to enough. We're going to put those people in the forefront and like we're going to intentionally dialogue with these individuals and dialogue with them consistently and for the majority of the conversation. Not that someone else's opinion and whatnot is insignificant, because there's something to learn about everyone.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just not your time right now.
No.
And it's okay. You can keep scrolling. There's another Facebook post you can rant and rave about.
There's a few memes you can find.
Right. You can DM.
There's another Epstein meme. You're fine.
Right. He didn't do it. No, wait. He did kill himself. Wait, is that the same guy? I always forget his name. Who was the
Jeffrey
guy?
Epstein.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
We always gotta sneak that in somewhere.
Dude, I love those memes. They're so funny, and they even made memes about the memes. So I'm like,
what?
Yes, there was
meta memes.
Yes, no, it is. It's literally like, oh, you think you're reading something just about a fun fact? Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, and then it has like the Pikachu face or something below it, like, oh, like it's.
Bro, tag me in one of those.
I will next time I see one, but it's like I see that stuff, and I think it's interesting how memes have developed, and that's just a complete sidebar. But to your point, if it's not something you feel like you can contribute to, or it's not something you feel like you're able to participate in, that's okay. There's going to be something else.
Right.
And it's not like you're never going to post something for somebody to be able to participate in.
Right. There's a whole country for you. This country was literally designed for you.
Right.
Like, literally designed for you. No, literally designed for you. Like
designed by us for you.
It's FUBU! It's white FUBU! You's gonna be alright for a millisecond. You is alright.
Man.
It is alright. I'm done.
Again, Dave Chappelle bit.
You know what's funny?
God, that was my favorite though. That was my favorite SNL skit for the longest time.
Oh,
was the election one where him and Chris Rock's like, "That's all right, it'll be all right," and I was like, "Oh, Chris, I love you so much."
And that's what like people just gotta understand. It's like, where are the spaces where you've been occupying, and how much occupancy have you had in those spaces? Is occupancy a word? Maybe occupants?
No, occupancy is correct. I think, how much of a residency have you had there? That might be a...
Well, I like that. Residency and, like, real estate, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we can keep going with this.
No, what do we think we own?
How much footage?
Ooh.
Yeah, how much square foot mileage? Cruise control, I don't know.
Cruise control, something. All right.
Yeah.
We'll find something to that later. So yeah, I already started on the conversation about the clout. No, specifically about how you see black-white interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, kind of what you were saying is more of a meta-narrative of referencing Facebook as the meta-narrative, but seeing how that's consistent throughout our culture right now.
Oh heck yeah!
Yeah, right. And I agree. And I also think that there's a lot of things in black culture that, and this is something I'm kind of curious where you stand on.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on like what is cultural appropriation?
Man, how long?
We don't got to go super deep into it, but I'm just.
I gotta get a whiteboard for this one, man.
I got one. I can go get it.
Don't do this to me, man.
We can do that extra. But like, so
you can give like your fans like exclusive content. Like we'll post a video.
We'll record it.
Just for the super fans who are on your Patreon, you know.
I don't have a Patreon.
Neither do I, but we should make one happen.
I would just have a GoFundMe so I can get my PS4 back.
There it is, brother. So if you're listening, look, man, this man needs a PS4, and you're here to help.
Yeah.
Help this man.
Please. For just 10 cents a day.
It's like, come on, what is that? That's milk money right there.
Right.
People still, like, that's coming back.
No, I know, absolutely, it's a thing. Anyway, but yeah, so as far as, like, cultural appropriation, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, and I kind of, Alex and I very briefly touched on this in ours when we talked.
Okay.
And he said, I realize I am a guest in the house of hip hop.
Well, that's generous. Okay, yeah.
I think like he's generous too, because I think what he does with his art is brilliant. Like I do. I give him so much credit. I try to shout him out any chance I can.
I'm a dog right there. I remember like first time I met Alex, and like when that brother opened his mouth and started rippity rapping, I was like, that's dope.
Dude, we joked about how like I was like, why do you always rap so fast? He's like, well, I'm white, so it's kind of all we got.
That's good. And look, I'm gonna give it to some white folk out there. Like when it comes to rapping fast, like white dudes specifically have really figured out the science of it. You know what I'm saying? Like the methodology. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, look, I ain't mad at you. And like real talk, if you're white and coming into this space as a guest, you gotta bring it. Like you can't suck as a white rapper.
Right? No, you absolutely can't.
They'll be like, you suck and you white. Like you can't do that. Yeah, you have to.
That's Hollywood's most wanted right there.
Literally. Hey, bro had some cold cuts, you know what I'm saying? Like lunch meat. Can you believe that? I was just hanging out with a friend. She ain't never seen it before. I'm like, how you never seen this movie before?
So here's the thing. My ex, she was Jamaican Native American.
Wait, you said she thought she was
No, she is Jamaican Native American.
Oh, okay. I thought you said she thought she was Jamaican Native American. I'm like, how do you think you two other ethnicities?
I met her dad. She said she's definitely Jamaican.
What a combination.
I mean,
Jamaican Native American. Like I've seen Black Native American. I have Native American in my blood. Like on my mom's side of the family, like we have Cherokee. Now Ancestry.com ain't gonna say I got much of it. But I know these pictures I've seen, you know what I'm saying? I know what my mother's hair looks like. I know why my hair doesn't lock up the way other brothers do.
Right.
It's in there.
Right.
And I think somewhere we got some Blackfoot too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I showed her Malibu's Most Wanted for the first time when we started dating. And she thought it was hilarious. Because it's hilarious. Oh my God. It's so good. And then I also, the same night, showed her Blazing Saddles. So
where the white women at? I ain't seen the whole thing, but like I went in and out of sleep. I was living in the South at the time. I woke up to that point. I'm like, wait, what the heck is going on?
That is one of my favorite movies ever.
I gotta go back and watch it.
Dude, that's probably my favorite Mel Brooks movie because he just so blatantly spoofs racism.
Yeah.
Like he so blatantly just hits it and just right on the head.
The Mel Brooks directed that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, like all those movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything with Gene Wilder in it.
Pretty much, and also Spaceballs, Robin Hood Men in Tights. Yeah, that's all Mel Brooks, dude.
No, yeah, I know. Like Men in Tights had to be in the same directed space. Yeah.
But yeah, Spaceballs too as well because he was President Scroob. Because he's always a character. That. Yeah, he's always a character. But anyway, so they elect a black sheriff, which is what they reference in Robin Hood Men in Tights. And at one point, speaking of Dave Chappelle, and at one point you see the sheriff walking down through the town and he sees this old lady and he's like, "Isn't it a lovely morning?" And she's just like, "Up yours, N-word," and just keeps walking.
How did I miss that part? I do not remember that part at all.
And then you see him like mopey back in the
Was that the beginning?
Office. Yeah, it's kind of beginning, middle.
Like you said when he first gets into town.
When he's like walking around town the first time.
Okay, maybe I do remember that. I think I was just so shocked that like they were doing this in film. I mean, granted, yes, it's comedy, but like even then,
it's ridiculous. But they were joking about like the Western theatrics,
right?
And that was the perfect way to then use racism as kind of the Western as the mirror for
to show people how like ridiculous this is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I loved it because every single, well, not every single aspect, but like the big aspects of racism, even the joke of,
Man, watch your
where are the
mouth
white
when you
women
say
at? And like you had the KKK guys coming back and they beat them up and took their robes. Like I was like, come on, this is
And
gold.
like he did it in such the most like absurd, like stereotypical fashion.
Absolutely.
It's like the director showing like this is how like otherworldly, like even slavery was, because like he kind of like took on like that minstrel type persona in that moment. Because like you see him kind of bobbling his head, like you can barely even see his eyeballs. You're like, what white women at? And I was like, yeah, like seeing old cartoons and black and white silent films where they put up those caricatures of black men and like really just hyperbolizing that image. It's like, yeah, this was absolutely dehumanizing for someone. So it's like it's literally like watching like Aliens or something like that, you know.
No, and it is, but and then he goes back to his sheriff's building, whatever, and Gene Wilder's there, and he's like, hey, he's trying to cheer him up. He's like, you gotta realize, like, what'd you expect? A warm welcome?
Right.
Like, you're dealing with the people of the land, common folk,
whatever that means.
Idiots.
Okay, that's what that means. My bad.
And and it's a way to kind of poke fun at the whole thing, and that's one of the reasons I always recommend it. But yeah, so I had her watch Malibu's Most Wanted, making fun of white people, and then one of my favorite movies by Mel Brooks, making fun of racism. So that was the introduction.
What like a little composition you got going on there? It's like, we're gonna watch this movie, baby. It's like a mixtape for movies.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, yo.
Oh, I have a mixtape.
Let me show you how down I am.
Oh, absolutely. Gonna watch those two, and then we're gonna watch Sword Art Online. That's my.
And then we'll just see where we end up.
We'll see where we go. Yeah. I'm going back to cultural appropriation.
That's playing.
Sorry, completely rabbit hole.
Right.
But it was good.
Oh, so like, yeah, I didn't even answer your question. So
no, we went off. It's fine.
So like, to tackle that, like,
yeah,
there's a lot that I can't say, and like, I don't know if we got that kind of time, but like, so there's always the conversation of appropriation versus appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I actually see three facets. There's appropriation, appreciation, and then assimilation. That's a conversation that people like just in case someone tries to spout the rhetoric of, well, black people be appropriating white culture all the time, when it comes to certain things in the arts, like, y'all wearing the clothes that we manufactured here in America, you're driving the American muscle cars and whatnot. It's like, no, that's more like assimilation, because we kind of didn't have a choice. It's either, I mean, it's not like we all about to pack up and go back to Africa. So what happened the last time with that? A lot of us died.
Yeah.
That was awkward. So we're like, no, we ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna drink no Kool-Aid. So it's like, we're kind of stuck here. So we got to make the most of what we got. Right. Either one, the scraps that you've given us, or like try to ascend to whatever level we think you're at. And you know what I'm saying? Like, we are assimilating. Like, we're adopting your language. We're adopting your culture and your way of thinking and whatnot. So there's that.
Well, and my question there is, so this is actually something I've been curious about for a long time. And I know I'm interrupting the thought process again, but it's because you hit on something really important that I'm
sometimes it be like that. It's like you gotta
go
down the rabbit hole.
Oh, no, absolutely. Because when we come down the rabbit hole, I think when we come out, I'll be able to understand everything else better.
There we go.
So for me, I'm white, obviously. I'm white American.
Wait, what?
Right.
This whole time?
I mean, I might have fooled a few people in gospel choir, but not very many.
Just squint your eyes. Close your eyes. They all sound, yeah.
Close your eyes, I'll sing. Maybe it sounds good enough.
So you got a little country twang on them, but that's all right.
Sometimes. So for me, I see black culture, obviously, is a part of American culture. Mm-hmm. Now, to what extent is that... Do you, as a black person, identify as American? And to me, that whole argument of, well, aren't you using white culture? I ignore that, because I say, well, everything that we know about white culture or black culture is all based on the generalized idea of what is American, and then developing that as a subculture of America. So to me, like, that idea of assimilation doesn't make sense. I see where you're coming from as far as trying to counter-argue.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, but that's a non-starter for me anyway if somebody tries to bring that up. That doesn't make sense to me. And I completely agree with your point as far as, we didn't have a choice. We didn't have black cars to drive.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have, like, that is a reality.
Right.
On the other hand, you also see white culture very much being shaped by the other subcultures. Well, I'll say white culture because I don't think that's fair to American culture.
Well, then my question is like, what is
Yeah.
America? Like, who made America? Who has like set the tone for who are the leaders of America? Who has set the tone for America? Who has set the American standard?
Right. Which white.
Right.
Right.
Even though like
the white right.
Right. Like even though like there are like little pockets of different types of people in Europe, at the same time though, it's like, okay, if you look at what was it called? This is something I brought up with and like I'm trying not to get like political per se when it comes to like talking about politics.
Right.
In terms of like, you know, government and presidency and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But like at the time, like Trump was talking about like how this is like when we started to have the immigration conversation, started to revisit that.
Right.
So like there was the Immigration Act of I want to say it was either 1918 or 1920, like somewhere in that area. And so there was a quota at that time. It's like, okay, we're going to put a cap on how many people we're bringing in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can only come in if you're from like the northwest or the northeast end of
These
Europe.
5 countries, pretty
right?
much.
Norway, Great Britain, France.
We want the good white people.
Right.
Or we don't want Irish trash or Italians. Yeah,
right.
That's how it was.
Somehow they found their way in.
Well,
So like,
I mean, you know.
Or like, if only if you could perform these certain jobs and tasks.
Right.
And those jobs and tasks seem to be, like, prevalent in those areas, in those same areas. So, like, we have a government and a system that's setting things up that's, once again, the FUBU mentality is for us, by us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, when I hear someone say American, like, I can't sever that from white culture. Like, it's pretty different. It's extremely difficult, not just impossible to do.
Right.
So, now, that's not to say there is an ideal America that we collectively want it to be.
But it's not.
It's not.
Okay, I can completely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, as far as that's concerned then, comparing, and I'm using kind of air quotes because, again, I'm using terminology, but I'm also not sure how I feel.
Are you really using air quotes if you got to say you're using air quotes?
I mean, you know, whatever.
Comparing,
it is meta. Comparing white culture to black culture, I think I understand where you're coming from with assimilation. I don't think that is an argument that needs to be made.
No, I was saying like I wasn't like even talking about it much because like it's just in case like someone said, not you because I didn't think you would make that argument. Right. That's just in case someone once again like tries to make a case for like, oh, we're justified in doing this thing because y'all be doing that too. You know you know like the all lives matter kind of rhetoric type stuff.
See, and I regret ever thinking that way as well. Because I did. I had the thought of all lives matter because I didn't understand what
I don't blame. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't blame white people for thinking that. It's just that
I do at this point. It's not even the white guilt thing. It's the frustration of the fact that I was ignorant to what that actually was supposed to say.
And that's really what it is. That's why I don't blame people. It's like you just didn't know, or like you've never talked about this stuff, or never had to think about this.
Oh, absolutely.
But for the rest of us, we got to think about this stuff daily.
Right. Like, oh man. So I keep wanting to sidetrack. Focus.
No, we're never going to talk about.
We're not going to get through this whole thing. The reason I say that is because I don't think white people. I'm speaking to my white audience on this one.
Talk to them, man. Talk to them.
I don't think we need to try to have that argument where somebody then responds to us saying it's assimilation because we didn't have a choice. We shouldn't even be having that type of a conversation because it's accusatory and it's silly.
Wow. Ooh.
Yeah.
You done said something there. They got you on that.
Hopefully. It's like a rawhide. You take a while to chew on it. So
you're actually a lot more militant than you're about as militant as me. Whatever that means.
Took a few years. I had to drop out of seminary, and then you're
gonna have posts on Facebook. I don't want to hear from any white people.
I don't want to hear from white people. My brother would give me so much shit. Who am I kidding? My brother. So he's my half brother. He's Puerto Rican.
Okay.
So like,
That's cool.
I've had some interesting conversations with him, but not very many because he's from New York.
Okay.
So New York has an American culture.
Yeah.
They don't really have
he's
a
New
black
Yorkian. That's what's up.
No, he's like seriously. I code switch when I talk with him because sometimes you just get into an accent and you start going.
That's literally my dad's side of the family. They
really?
From New York, you know.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you just kind of get into that bit.
You say
and start
coffee
going.
different, you know.
Sometimes you say, hey, yo, you want to go get some coffee? You want to go to the gym?
Get some water.
Go work out. Yeah.
Can we talk? Can we talk?
But yeah,
I do not have a cousin that sounds like that.
But yeah. So for me, I don't know if I'm militant necessarily. I think it's just my perspective has changed so much to the point that I'm frustrated.
Oh, that was a joke. Like
no, I hear you though. But it's true because my perspective has shifted thinking about these things more and kind of opening myself up to different ideas.
Yeah.
Which I think we should all continue to do as we progress through life. Sidebar though. So then you said the other two. So there's assimilation, there's appreciation.
Yeah.
So hit on that one next because I kind of want to build up the ladder.
Okay. So like I love it when we can appreciate other cultures, like learning, accepting like being invited. Mm-hmm. And that's something that Alex was hitting on, like being a guest. Like that means like we invited you in, we accept you. Come on in, you know what I'm saying? Like let us take care of you. Have a seat. Here's something to drink. Eat up. Enjoy yourself. Like come and participate with us. Like the problem is like appropriation happens where there's not that initial invitation. Like there wasn't even a conversation. Like next thing you know, you're Kardashian. You got Bantu knots. And like you rocking this as if like you came up with this style yourself.
So
and even if you didn't, you did not acknowledge where that came from. And even if you did, the unfortunate thing is the optics of it. All these people around you are giving you this appraisal for it, and you're not educating them about where it came from. Like this is why I don't swing dance as much as I used to.
Really?
Yeah, I love swing. But here's the thing. It's a scary thing because at one point I forgot where this came from. It's like, wait, this came from my people. Like this is what we came up with. Like we set the tone for this whole culture. We came up with these dances and yada yada. But then like I go and like, okay, now I understand. We in freaking Indiana. That belong to be a bunch of white people. Okay, we just what can you do?
Well, they're
everywhere.
That and even if you get into it, like how much is swing dancing a part of black culture today?
Right. Or, see, my thing would be like, okay, we need to go and like bring that back.
So, again, rabbit hole.
Yeah. Real quick, I'm going to say this part.
Okay, go ahead.
The problem becomes appropriation instead of appreciation
Yeah.
when I don't see black leadership in those spaces. Now, if I don't see black participation that much, I mean, that's just proximity to the culture, you know what I'm saying? Proximity to the community. But if I don't see black leadership, and I don't see black beneficiaries, at that point, that's where I see a lot of appropriation. Now, if you got a job, get your bread, but at the same time, like, don't try to have like so much ownership of it. It's as if like you've positioned yourself as the originator. You know what I'm saying?
So what are your thoughts on Eminem then? Do you think he...
Man, I love Eminem!
Oh, no. I'm just stating, like, okay, so is appropriation or appreciation?
So, like, if we having the cookout, he's invited. Like, we definitely invited him.
Right.
And I think, like, I don't know if he invited himself, but, like, I can only go by for what I've seen from 8 Mile, okay? Okay? That stuff was straight facts. Everything happened in that movie.
Yeah, it's complete documentary,
right? Just like that guy, I keep thinking it's Andre 3000, but it's not him. It's another actor. It's terrible. But anyway, so like he earned the respect of the hip hop community.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Namely the black community. Just going off what I've seen from 8 Mile.
Right.
Because at first he sucked.
Right.
Even though bro was gifted, clearly. Mm-hmm. You know, like it just wasn't working for him at first.
He didn't have the drive, maybe is what.
Yeah, he had to knock on the door
a
couple of times. It's like a Jehovah's Witness. We don't want to talk to you out initially, but if someone comes with a different approach or even comes consistently, you might be like, you know what? Let me hear what you got to say. Oh, this is interesting. Like I remember one time I actually had a conversation with a few Jehovah's Witnesses that were going through my neighborhood, and like I was trying to like just hurry up and get to my car. So I was like, I don't want nobody to see me. Because, like, two things happened. One, like, I got caught. And then secondly, they were like, significantly older. Like, these were like low-key seniors, some were boomers, some were, what's before that?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe some Gen Xers. But,
right after, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, what typically happens in those conversations where, like, you're talking about faith with someone who is significantly older than you, not all the time, but there are times where, like, and you can just kind of tell by the vibe they give off, they're like, oh, you about to try to sun me as if I don't know anything. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, like, I try to study the Bible. I try to study more than I did the last time. Try to meditate on the Word, talk to God and listen to God. So, like, we're talking about the Word, and, like, they're trying to pull up the scripture, and, like, I could tell them almost verbatim what it was. And they're kind of looking at me like, oh. I'm like, yeah, I'm not like, what did you think this was? You know what I'm saying? But I can't remember why I was even mentioning that. But, shoot, what was we even talking about, fam?
I don't know. You got me all kinds of confused. Oh, knock on the door.
Yeah, knock on the... Bro, love you, man. So, yeah. So, like, Eminem knocked on the door.
Yeah.
Maybe even rang the doorbell a couple of times. Somebody gave him a chance,
Right.
And then...
Dre.
Right. They invited him into the house. It's like, okay, let's see what you're working with here.
So you gave Kim as an example of appropriation.
Kim?
Kardashian.
Oh, okay. I can't remember if it was her or the other one, Carrie or something.
Sure it was her. I'm pretty sure it was Kim.
Kim.
Well, I mean, and I guess that was going to be my point. Not to be
every time I see her, she gets tanner. I'm like, what's going on here?
She got a black husband. I don't know. She's dating Kanye, or she's married to Kanye.
Right.
So that's a whole other can of worms we could open as Kanye. To me, not pulling the "Hey, I have a black friend" card, but like she's married to Kanye West.
Yeah.
Was that really appropriation in your mind at that point, or was that just her?
That's just one black person. There's like.
I mean, he's a
couple
pretty prolific. But as far as like how our culture is shaped and how black culture is shaped.
Well, look, at that time, we was questioning whether or not Kanye invited to the barbecue. So,
okay.
We got to have like a conversation with the whole black delegation at that point.
Okay, now here's what I was getting into earlier. And this is the question I wanted to hit on.
Mm-hmm.
So what is black culture then? Because I see that kind of commentary of like, well, he may not be invited to the barbecue anymore. Who is outside of the barbecue who identifies as black? Because like,
it always depends on who you talk to, but like,
right, but that's my point. Like, what is it?
This is a part of black culture that we call black humor.
Yeah.
Now, whether you get it or not, look, we don't necessarily care whether or not you get it, because like, this is what we call like in-house issues.
Right. Well, that's my thing though. Like, so I'm obviously not in-house. But I see the commentary, I see the comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you guys aren't just going to say, oh no, Kanye's not black anymore. But that's the joke.
No, but we might say that about Sammy Sosa.
Well, that's a whole other thing. And, you wouldn't...
I'm kidding. Like, I'm going to still call him black just because he look like he don't want to be black. I'll be like, boy, you still black. Look at your mama.
So for you, these in-house problems, like... Obviously, one of them that I wanted to bring you on.
Well, not necessarily a problem, more like an issue.
What's the distinction there?
The distinction is like the problem is what created this issue. You get what I'm saying?
So the issue is what you're discussing, trying to find the actual problem.
No, we know what the problem is.
Okay, so for nerd culture,
being
a black nerd, how the hell do you
say invited?
No. Hey, I'm saying, like, we're talking about issues.
Oh, okay. This is what you really wanted to talk about.
Who's invited to the barbecue?
Yeah.
If you're a black nerd, if you're a gay black man.
Okay.
If you are Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
People who have been defended, Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Like, what do you look at, and jokingly or not, look at that issue and say, you're not invited to the barbecue anymore? Like, that's what I've been curious about for a long time.
It's always a joke.
Right.
Like, initially... Like, now, how can I put this? Like, I don't represent every single black person out there. Obviously. That's something that needs to be understood.
Absolutely.
And then also, oh, that's cute. This cat.
He plays with the string. He also plays fetch. If he brought his ball over, I'd throw it for him.
Cats play fetch?
My cat plays fetch.
You know, like, I only heard about this once, and I'm like, I wasn't told disbelief. I'm like, I gotta see this.
I have an Instagram video I can show you later.
Bet.
I posted it twice at least.
Because look, I just didn't think the cats were fun.
No, he's
like
awesome.
They're cute, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're fun.
Right.
But like I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, all right. So like, whenever we have these conversations, like, there's only so much I explain to you. It's like just one of those things you just kind of know from growing up around people who have these conversations already, and then like it's like trying to explain Black Twitter to a white person. It's like it's difficult. You know what I'm saying? It's like you either get it or you don't.
The terminology, the language, everything's
right. And there's so many things to explain, all these little nuances and whatnot.
Right. Absolutely. So
like to answer your question, like how do we decide what's just straight up humor and then like what's actually serious? Like, I mean, like, you know, just watch and listen. Like, if there's a documentary about, well, I don't know about the Michael Jackson one, but, like, definitely the R. Kelly one. Yeah, we talking about this and being like, now, don't get me wrong, there is still a rift in the divide. There is a
How messed up is that, though?
It's called being human. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's called, like, following a famous person who you've been a fan of since. So, like, at one point, I was conflicted because it's like, dang, fam. Now, matter of fact, I knew you was doing this stuff the whole time. You're peeing on girls, bro. But dang, Step in the Name of Love is the cut. I love that song. Have you heard that song?
No, but it's like the Dave Chappelle bit. It's like, you know, like, even if he did do it,
right?
It's Michael Jackson. Like, it's.
I remember that. I just watched that not too long.
I died when he said that. I was like, that was the fucking best.
So all people like, molested you. You got like that's like a fish story right there. You know what I'm saying?
Michael Jackson sucked my dick. This is my sexual experience. It's only going up from here. Like that bit was funny because it was dark, but it was also funny because he's speaking from that black commentary of the situation. Exactly what you said, like.
Right.
But damn, how much did he contribute to that culture? Damn, how much did he,
and that's what I was saying. So like I had
American culture.
Right. So like on the previous episode of my podcast, I was talking with like a friend of mine about that. Like we were talking about like who is not invited to like the barbecue. And so like we brought up Michael Jackson. I think she brought it up and I was like, look man, he's done so much for the community. Bring him in. We're gonna have a talk. Because I want to know. Like, I mean, think about it this way. It's a family. Like, yeah, there are certain family members like you probably don't prefer to see. But if we got a family reunion and they show up, and it's like, okay, if you really love that person, and if you haven't talked about that issue, and you ain't going to talk about it any other time, it's either at that family reunion or at someone's funeral. Mm-hmm. It's going to come up somehow. Let's talk about it. You know, like, let's figure out what happened. If we need to vindicate you for some possible wrongdoing unto you, or if you did something, you need to repent.
Ooh,
let's talk about it.
I'm gonna bring up somebody.
Who?
Juicy Smollett.
Who's this?
Jesse Smollett.
Oh my gosh.
What were your thoughts on that?
So like I was like halfway paying attention to that because like I didn't watch Empire. You know what I'm saying?
I haven't either. It's
like
just...
I didn't have a taste for that show, but it's okay. Just scary. No, I was kidding. But
scary part.
Boxes. Oh my god. But yeah. So like, first of all, I thought it was hilarious.
Oh.
I'm like, this man done staged a beatdown.
Bruh.
Who does that? Like, who you paid these men to come and tear you up from the bottom up.
And it wasn't even like that.
And you got caught.
And he didn't get in trouble for it. You know the judge dismissed it?
He's in trouble with a lot of us in the black community now.
Okay, see that's what I was getting at.
And by trouble I mean, we definitely on your head about this. We're making jokes out of jokes. Memes for days. So like there is the defamation of somebody.
Right.
But like how there are R. Kelly fans out there, there's some Jay Smalley fans out there still. And then there's other people would just find this absolutely hilarious. So like,
so as far as like people who actually gatekeepers of black culture, we could argue.
if there are,
Ooh, what do you mean?
if there are, so like, there's something going on with Comcast right now.
What?
This brother's name is Byron Allen.
Okay.
He is a significant like black owner.
I think I heard about this.
Yeah. So like, I can't go like, it's hard for me to go into it because like, there's a lot to explain. There's a lot that I'm still learning about it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, they're taking it out to the Supreme Court
Mm-hmm.
and like fighting whether or not this has to do with discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think I'm trying to circle back so I remember what I was talking about.
You're good.
Gatekeepers. So like what they did was the thing that upset him the most and like brought him to actually sue Comcast and another company was when these other companies thought that there was like these black community gatekeepers. Now there are some important, significant figures and leaders, but they're not necessarily. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're the gatekeepers. So like they had them sign this document of understanding that they can do whatever they want because they got the money and the buying power and whatnot. So they had people like Reverend Al Sharpton,
Mm-hmm.
the leader of the NAACP,
Mm-hmm.
and the leader of like another like black union organization of some sort.
Right.
And so he was like, what do these people have to do with cable companies? You know what I'm saying? Like, they have like no buying power in this. I got buying power. How come you didn't talk to me about this? You know what I'm saying? So like, I try to move away from that idea and mentality that there are. Or he brought up this. He was like, so who's the white gatekeeper? Who speaks for all white people? Right.
Probably Matt Damon.
Obviously Matt Damon.
Leonardo
DiCaprio.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Of course.
Hugh Jackman.
So any celebrity.
Well, I'm saying like who do you see shapes culture? So like, you know, whether it's white or black, you know, we're talking about black culture. So,
but like, are they the ambassadors of white culture and whiteness? Like, do they go and speak to other? Will they go to Africa and be like, hey, this is what white people think about this, and this is what we need to do about this?
Okay, so we're using different terminology for gatekeeper then. I'm thinking of like how we develop culture and like how we develop our sense of who we are.
Uh-huh.
Not so much people who would go out and be representatives.
Here's what the problem is. Like, we like when it comes to shaping culture, the unfortunate thing is that there's a lot of our culture, like from the black end, that's been taken away, that's been stripped, that's been
bastardized,
removed,
changed,
right, and erased.
Right.
I just so happen to be wearing this today. I got this in the mail the other day, and I wanted to wear this.
Fair enough.
So, me and my dumb bug got a stain on it.
I mean, a white hoodie. What do you expect of me?
I expect perfection. Right.
Right.
Perfection.
There's that Christian side coming out.
That's America.
Okay.
Oh, anyway.
Yeah.
So, what happened? So, like, yeah. So, like, a lot of our culture, like, of what, or at least what could have been our culture, it's been taken away. So, like, we have to, like, literally shape our own culture within a culture. Like, that culture still exists. We just don't always know, like, what it is, and we're still, like, learning. Right. But, like, the more that we connect with people who are from Africa, the more we see, like, oh, that's where we get that from. Oh, that's where we get that from. Oh, that's why I look that way. Oh, that's probably why I talk this way. Oh, that's possibly why I think this way. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's why I can't eat cheese. I mean, real talk, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't always know how to navigate that conversation aside from, like, these things I'm already thinking about, like, or the things that possibly may or may not exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there are actual gatekeepers of the black community.
I guess I'm saying more like prolific characters in the black community or prolific individuals.
Like who? Because like if you say a celebrity, then it's like, well, that someone might argue that's what the issue is. You're only looking to celebrities. You're not looking to like people who represent academia. You know what I'm saying? Not people who represent like social justice. Not to say that celebrities don't.
I don't argue whether it's black culture or white culture.
Because like we see that in white culture too. You know what I'm saying?
We definitely have.
Or we see that in air quotes.
Right.
American culture.
Right.
But granted, where did that idea come from? Like, who shaped that idea?
Right.
I can't say black folk have shaped the idea that celebrities are more important than your street preacher, or more important than your mama saying, hey, go outside with a coat on, boy. But the old Spice commercial guy, he never wear a coat. He always in the shower towel, man. You know what I'm saying? But you get what I'm saying? Like, so like, who's to say like over in Africa, celebrities weren't really a thing like in the originality of like the culture and whatnot. But somehow, some way, that now has become a thing in their world and in other worlds that become more quote unquote developed,
right? Or
like become less quote unquote third world. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that means. Like, what the heck is that? We got 3 worlds in this world. What is this, Zoids now?
I know. Ooh.
Planet Z.
Ooh, you hit a soft spot for me. We're back to anime already. But I have to put a pause on anime because I want to get something more important.
What is more important than anime?
God.
Amen.
You're like, shit, you got me.
God and celebrities.
I have the power of God and anime on my side. Like, getting the 2 parts of the other Trinity. I don't know what the third is. We're trying to figure that out.
God, anime, celebrities.
I don't know. What do you... God, anime, and Disney. There we go. God, anime, Disney. The Trinity of culture.
It depends on which Disney we're talking about.
Disney that owns ESPN
we're talking about,
and everything else.
Oh, yeah. I respect the game.
I don't. It's terrible.
The reason why people don't like monopolies is because they work. That's the same reason that people don't like communism, because it freaking works.
Get out.
I don't know.
I know, you're trolling. It's good, though. No, so I know we kind of messaged a little bit about this, and I started to kind of open up about where I'm at. Obviously, I'm in a different place thinking about God than I was when I was at AU.
Okay.
Very different place.
Trust, I feel like everyone should have that.
Absolutely.
That response, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I do think differently than when I was in this Christian bubble. Because when you're in the Christian bubble, it's so easy to think the way other people around you are thinking. Mm-hmm. And just kind of be like, conformative to all that. But how does that speak towards your, individual, personal relationship with God? You know what I'm saying?
Well, see, and that's where it gets interesting. So, the reason we started talking about it, ironically, was because we started talking about anime first.
But what the heck? How did that even happen?
Yeah, we went from Demon Slayer to talking about how.
Oh, that's why. Because what I was saying, why I don't watch certain anime.
Or just different content in general, is because the demon side, the spiritual side of it. Yeah, so for me, I grew up in a Pentecostal church. So
I see what.
Bless your heart.
Yes.
No, I know. But that's okay. I'm guessing you grew up Baptist. So.
Actually, okay. So it's like this. So my dad came out of the Baptist church. My mom came out of the Pentecostal Apostolic church.
Oh boy.
And then there's me.
Where'd you come from? Growing up with both of them. Somewhere in the middle?
I came from my parents. That's where I came from.
Somewhere in the middle. Okay.
Yeah, like a denominational mud.
Oh, dude, no. See, that's what happened. Because I started Pentecostal, went to Methodist, and then went to AU.
Okay.
So I have a completely bastardized.
Wow. What the heck?
Oh no. I'm completely messed up. So the idea of demons and everything for a long time, that was a very important part of my understanding of God.
Yeah.
And then I came to AU, and Intro to Bible completely destroyed that for me.
Bible 2000.
Bible 1000, 2000. But I mean that in a very good way for me, because it took the idea of Satan, and instead of making him this vicious evildoer, it brought this perspective of, the actual story of Lucifer falling isn't actually in the Bible. It's not even really in the Apocrypha. And the idea of Satan in which book? Old Testament.
There's Isaiah.
No, not Isaiah.
It's that's where. No, sorry, that's not where we get the Lucifer narrative. It's
it's not.
It might be Jeremiah.
No, it's not in the Bible. It's referenced very
right.
briefly.
There's a brief little thing,
somebody being cast down as lightning. That's it. That's the only thing. Everything else we have.
I'm trying to think where it was. This is gonna bug me.
No, it's not.
If it's in Isaiah, it's in the last chapters that I haven't reread. I'm listening to it now.
Right.
I listen to 2 chapters every morning.
That's a good call.
Thank you. I mean, I'm trying to actually read the entire Bible, because like there's some issues that I don't really get into that much, because it's like, how can I like, especially like if we're like talking Bible critiques or whatnot, or criticisms,
yeah.
it's like I can't really criticize this thing that I haven't like read fully.
Right.
And then if I have read it, I haven't studied it all the way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm a like.
See, and that's what most of my time at AU was.
Yeah.
Like, because I did that and then I did psych. So,
Okay.
So I had the side of me
Ooh,
developing. Oh no, it was a good call for me to do.
Okay.
It's not affecting my career at all right now, but it was something.
That'd be like that. Here we are.
That's what it is. But it had this idea that Satan I'm trying to remember what's the story. It's right after Judges, I believe.
Okay.
It's the guy who like loses everything and then comes back. All of his friends come and sit with him. And
Job.
Job. Thank you. I could not remember the name. In Job, it mentions Satan going and going to God and all this stuff.
Right.
And the commentator was saying, well, this doesn't seem like an evil villain if he's able to come into the presence of God. If he's able to do these things, because that doesn't really make sense. So,
like if you believe in the idea that like God is holy and everything around him is holy, and
and the fact that this being who's supposed to be this evil figure is just coming and having casual conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like that seems very either mythological or that he's not actually evil, and then it's more of like a police officer going around and enforcing the laws of God.
The accuser.
Right.
Gotcha.
But still, like even a shift, because even that tone accuser has an inherent bias to it, right?
Well, bias is different than denotation. You know what I'm saying? Like there's people always want to connote things, but that shouldn't always dictate or take away from what the denotation of a word is.
I agree, but the interpretation of how we see that word has an
bias. That might be the problem, though. It's like
right.
That's why I think like studying is important.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like take away your connotation, just go strictly off the denotation. Then from there, like consult the Father about it, ask him about it, be like, hey, I don't understand this right away. What does this mean?
Right.
Talk to me.
But yeah, so from that point forward, I kind of stopped spiritualizing my faith as much.
Okay.
Not that I stopped praying or anything like that. But then.
Because that's what I was going to ask. I was like.
No. Well, it's starting to get to that point, but it's a different perspective. So for me, I still think prayer is important. I still think God has power. I still believe God created the world. I think it's shifting. My perspective shifting more to like a deist perspective, where God created. Has been active, is not constantly active. But the reality is that God is still present everywhere at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I see God in you, I see God in trees, I see God in every little part of where we're at because it was all made by God.
Okay.
And it has to have some sort of reflection of God.
Okay. Yeah, so, like, I can see with you on that.
Right.
Like, we are image bearers.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and that's how it should be. Like, God doesn't just look like this one person, but, like, we're all made in his image. And then, like, everything around us is an extension of his characteristics.
Right.
There's a reason why trees grow.
Right.
Like, there's a reason why things, like, have the will to live. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
No, and we have a capacity to love as well.
Right. And that's where I'm kind of, like, developing more of a... I kind of joke and say I'm becoming a hippie. But I've developed more of like a universalist perspective. I mean, give me some mushrooms and we'll go full trail. So that's the other thing. So we mentioned Joe Rogan earlier before we started recording.
Yeah.
Hearing him.
It was not Seth Rogen, by the way.
It was not Seth Rogen. Hearing him, other comedians, other people who I've been listening to their podcasts, hearing them discuss hallucinogenics and how it has helped them shape their understanding of everything else in themselves has been very fascinating to me. So like for me, I'm like, oh, how cool would it be? Just not to recreationally use, because I'm actually reading a book by this guy named Ram Dass, who another guy I listen to was Ram Dass. He references him almost every single podcast.
Okay.
But he had a very interesting story, and I'm starting to read through his book. Be Here Now is the title of it. And he mentions how he went from being a professor and like working at Harvard as a psychoanalyst to experimenting a lot with psilocybin To the point that like he did a couple of drug studies. Well, tried to do a couple of drug studies
on himself.
Ended up with himself, with students, everything else. Ended up leaving, well, being kicked out of Harvard, being shamed.
I see.
Going on a trip across the world and like just kind of advocating for hallucinogenics. And it's slowly starting to show him trying to identify whatever this thing he feels like he's missing is. And it's really like this self-connected understanding of I am just this little shell of a being. All these identities I have of myself are only relevant when I'm in a certain context.
No, bro had a whole existential crisis.
Oh, dude, he did. But it's a beautiful idea, because then he says, and if I'm having this experience because he was high and so was somebody else he was with, somebody would say something, and was that my mouth or your mouth that said that? And so it's kind of a joke of like, oh, what? Like, you're so high. But it also helped him open up the idea of there is no actual separation between me and another person. That is me as well. God is me as well. God is them as well. Like this idea of kind of a universal connectedness. Right, it's interesting. So for me, I'm like, okay, I kind of want to see like what these guys are seeing. I'm trying to understand it without any substances.
Yeah.
But like the side of me that's kind of joking about being a hippie, I was like, well, I mean, we could just tip over the boat real quick and see where it goes, because I know how to swim. But but for me, that's kind of where I'm at with God. I think God is very much a innate part of creation. I still think Jesus is very important. I still think the Bible is a good way of understanding the world, the flaws and the beautiful aspects of it. But to me, it's hard to want to be in a church, because singing the songs doesn't feel the same. Worship doesn't feel the same. And it's not just like, oh, I don't feel satisfied. It feels odd to me because it's not.
It's like, is this really speaking to me? Is this really what I believe?
Is this what I believe? Is this, is God something that needs to be worshipped in this way? Or
you don't feel like you're lying to yourself,
Right, or like putting on a show for anybody, because I'm tired of that too.
Right.
Because we've all been putting on shows for
and it's an unfortunate thing where like there have been churches that have fostered that kind of environment to be showy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And it's like I do strongly believe that every Christian like needs to, like on their faith journey, like really like go through like some kind of form of therapy. Is like, okay, what kind of constructs have you gone through growing up in your church context, your faith context, and communities? Let's really scrutinize those and figure out which ones were healthy and which ones were unhealthy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because like we came from like whenever you're dealing with humans, something is going to be imperfect. You know what I'm saying? Like all the time, we are not perfect. And it's just unfortunate that like certain unhealthy like habits and characteristics and whatnot like just causes like I don't know, like it causes trauma. Causes confusion, causes hurts and pains, discomfort, disbeliefs, unbeliefs, all those things. But yeah, like, well, I mean, like, I don't know. You have me thinking of a question. So, like, I guess, like, in terms of when it comes to that, I always just find myself asking the question, like, okay, if God is in everything, which I believe that we're all connected to God,
right.
Which I think, is just a demonstration of His power and magnitude. Like, this God we serve is dope.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like at the end of the day, and like this is what I talk about, or what I hope to eventually be talking about with like other thinkers, like especially in Black communities. Like I remember I was coming from a conference or something like that, and this dude was like, rambling about something. I don't know what he was talking about. He was just talking a bunch of stuff. He was like, "Hey man, we all gods, bro. We all gods." I thought he meant gods with an apostrophe S. But then I thought about it, I was like, oh no, he meant gods.
Yeah.
And so like, there are scriptures that talk about like humans being like gods or whatever, lowercase g gods.
Right.
It's like at the end of the day, what is the worship requirement? Like who requires worship? Who or what requires worship? And who is going to get the glory and worship at the end of the day?
Right.
So like one thing I would wrestle with that thought is like, okay, like if I see God in all of you, what is pointing me to God the Father? You know what I'm saying? Being the author of creation. So like, do I praise the God above you, for you, who made you, and do I talk to Him as such, and like create like that? What I think could be a healthy dichotomy between creation and creator, or do I just let go of that and just be like, hey, every time I shake someone's hand, like I'm worshiping God, so I don't have to go to this place and like connect with other people in a certain capacity to get some guidance on how to connect with God personally. All I gotta do is just go around and just shake hands with people. Hey, that's worship. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just the only question I would have, like for myself if I was navigating through that. Like I would need some guidance on like what worship looks like, surrendering like my heart and my mind to the Lord, so that no matter what song I hear, I'm able to like eat the meat, chew the meat and spit out the bones. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some songs that I won't listen to for worship because I'm like, this song is poorly written. This song sounds terrible. This song sucks. I don't like this song.
I'm sorry on behalf of a lot of white people.
No, even people, of other.
Oh no, I know. I'm just saying there's a lot of trash white.
Yeah, and like you gotta, like you really just gotta find like what works for you in your relationship with God.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, like what's most important to me is someone's relationship with God. Is like, do you talk to Him? Do you listen to Him? Do you read and study His Word?
Right.
Like that's what's most important to me. So like, however you navigate through that, even if you and I aren't thinking the same thoughts, as long as you're doing those things, it's like you good, fam. Like if you allow for the God the Father to guide you, man, it's all cool. Like when we trust Him, and this is what I'm working on now, like trusting Him, because like we were saying before, 2019 it's been a year, right? Interesting. And so it's like, dang, like God, how do I trust you with this? Like, or crap, God, I got myself into some of these situations because I didn't trust you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like I'm learning to like really just let go of what I think is right. You know, like what the proverb says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight.
Right.
I gotta believe that, you know what I'm saying? If I want to have success in my relationship with Him, if I want elevation, okay. Point proven. Cats do play fast. But no. Here's the thing. That was more like retrieve. Did the cat give it to you to go and throw again?
He does sometimes. If I'm sitting on the bed, he'll bring something up.
So I'm in disbelief still. I still haven't seen it, man.
He's brought it up here like 2 or 3 times.
I'm not a cat fetch believer.
Hey, that's all right.
No, the cat brought it up here to play with it, not to allow for you to.
Then why has he brought it back like 3 times instead of?
He just left it there.
You just haven't paid attention. He's done it like 4 times now. I've been trying to get your attention, but you've been going on good stuff, and I'm like,
well, man, I'm just like, wow. Either you were listening really intently, or like, or you trying to signal something, bro.
Right.
But yeah, like that's just where I'm at with that.
So here's what I want to say as far as the worship piece, because I get what you're saying there. Like if you are working through that, and I mean,
in my worship, I don't mean like just listening to a song.
Right. You're saying lifestyle. You're saying communal, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And I get that. For me, and here's the two big points right now. First, referring to worship, I think it's both and. I think you can absolutely go up to somebody, shake somebody's hand, show them love and compassion. That is godly. That is worship.
Oh yeah, straight up.
So even just to that extent, like that can in fact be an extension of our understanding of what this world is because of God.
Yeah.
And I'm using more universalist language, but I think we're hitting on the same.
No,
pieces.
like I agree. Like,
right.
And like I don't think we necessarily like have to like ascribe to a certain name to like just speak to some commonalities or speak to like common truths or like common sense. Like stuff just makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
And then I get that. It's just I'm hesitant with people. Also with our audience, but just in general, trying to talk about God, I want to be respectful. Sometimes, other times I just want
to be respectful.
Sometimes I want to be like Miley Cyrus coming with a wrecking ball and say all these things that you thought you knew.
But look at her now. After all that, she had her like her little phase or whatever.
She's still having a phase.
Probably.
No, because she was married to Liam Hemsworth.
Oh, I forgot they was married. I thought they were like just dating or
No,
engaged
they got. Well, I think they actually got married at one point. Then she left him for like this chick.
Oh, is that when Wrecking Ball came out?
No, this was a while ago.
Was that a different relationship?
I think that was the first time they dated, and then they dated again, and then they got like engaged and married, and then very recently she like left him to go date this girl for like a week, and then started dating this guy. So it's like she's still going through her phases. Right. It's a dice
roll. So I don't even know if I can say that's a phase. That's just like more of like just a reaction to what's going. You give a like. So I say
phases. It's kind of like the moon. You just kind of track it when you can.
Yeah,
celebrities in general.
And reactions can be phases too. Like like when X, Y, and Z happens, this is what you're gonna look like.
Right. Oh, right. Back to the other thing with God. So the first one is worship is both and. I think very much there's a communal aspect that can be important. But I think you have to understand which community you're a part of. Because I don't know if I'm part of the Christian community.
Okay.
I am, but I'm not. The reason I say that is because
this is like how we talk about like Christian rap, like versus like industry versus ministry. Like,
ooh, okay.
So like at the end of the day, like my question for anyone is like, do you believe in the divinity of Christ and his teachings?
That's what I'm not sure of. And I'm not sure if I believe about the divinity.
Okay.
Absolutely his teachings.
Right.
Well, sorry about that. Had to cut this a little short. This was the something new I was talking about. Actually having a 2-part podcast. So definitely, if you're enjoying this conversation, stick around for part 2. It should be out here soon. I know I'm excited for it. Hopefully you're excited for it. And I think Malachi and I both really enjoyed our conversation we had. And I'm glad I came back to this. And I'm glad I'm getting ready to show it off to all you people. Like I said, part 2's coming. And I also have something else coming up. If you've seen some stuff on social media, you know what's going on. And again, just hope this is something you all can enjoy because I know I'm loving it. Hope you have a great day, and hopefully you enjoy something to drink on.